All right, everybody, welcome to Rabbit Hole Roundtable Talks. It's a show where we talk about random things for the most part, normally around the theme. And then we take a deep dive, we go down the rabbit hole, and today we have a guest. Oftentimes we do have a guest, not every single time, not every single episode. But this time we have Nick
Yo,
Drayton.
wow.
So today we're gonna be going down the rabbit hole. We're gonna be talking about creativity. We're gonna be talking about your passion. We're gonna be talking about different ways of thinking and problem solving. And Nick is a professional in this field. He has a career, a storied career surrounding this. And Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so good afternoon, all. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I'm gonna talk about myself, and but hopefully that you guys will participate as well. So, what's the short version of Nick's story, so we can get to the real meat of the matter? I describe myself as a recovering marine protected area manager. That was my first professional career. I'm no longer doing that. I went back to school and I rebranded um, for a number of reasons, some of which I will touch on as we go down the rabbit holes. So my new area, as in the last 7 odd years, is in creativity, creative thinking, innovation, and that stuff. And I totally love what I'm doing. I'm very excited, always happy to share about what I'm doing. And let me stop there. That's it. Here we are.
Thank you for that. Sorry about the little mishap. Um, Today we're gonna talk about creativity and passions. And Nick, I'd like you to tell us about creativity and what it means to you and what it should mean to everybody as well.
Wow. Okay. All right. Fasten your seatbelts. Um, no,
Right.
so I'll give a little piece of the link between where I was and why I am where I am now. And as a marine protected area manager, I felt like the researchers were not giving us the information and the tools that we needed to effectively protect our coral reefs, which is my first love. I was like, y'all just doing research and doing your publications, but you ain't giving us anything to run with. Um, and so I was introduced to this thing called creativity. Now, right up front, ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about dance and music and drama and Picasso's and these things. We're talking about creative thinking, creative problem solving, and which is something that we all do. And so, like I said, my thing is not just to turn my back on the coral reefs, but learn this creativity thing and in part take it back to the researchers and say, hey guys, try using some of these creative thinking tools in your approach to your research, to challenges, to addressing some of the problems that we have. That has not been the easiest door to kick down. But again, I'll talk some more about that yet. But as I was doing this, I realized more and more that we are actually in what is called a VUCA world. You guys heard that term, expression? It goes back to military. VUCA.
Mm.
It's a world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, constantly changing. We will agree with that, right? No dissension on that one.
Mhm.
And basically, something that I say oftentimes to folks is yesterday's manuals and playbooks just are no use to us today. We can't go back and say, well, this is how they did it in 64 or 74 or 84 or 94. And so we need to be creative, whether we are in accounting or law enforcement or the medical field or marine protected areas. We need to be constantly creative, because the goalposts are changing more rapidly and more dramatically now than they have ever changed, perhaps in the history of man. And so this creativity tool is something that we all need, regardless of our vocation or area of specialization.
Nick, you are very, very popular. You have the chat popping today. I don't know if you can see the chat on
Really?
YouTube. Yes, people are saying hi to you. They're greeting you.
Hi, guys. Yeah, so I was only able to share the link with some of you. So if you know any of my other fans or well-wishers, share the link with them. Because some folks said they would try to join, but unfortunately I can't stop what I'm doing now to send the link to them. So okay.
So just so you
All
guys in the chat know, sorry Fiat, we do answer chat questions a little bit later and towards the end, but we are looking at them throughout the show. So if everything that you want to ask, just ask it and we'll go back to it and do what we can with it. Go ahead.
Two things. One, when you get a chance, read the chat for Discord. But besides that, I wanted to talk on something that Nick said, which I could potentially have a solution or potentially have or it made me think of something else. So I work in the field of epidemiology, and there are different types of epidemiologists. There's injury, behavioral health, and there's another one called environmental epidemiologists. So when you talk about research, everybody's publishing papers, but nobody's giving solutions. That reminds me about epidemiology. We have two different branches, even within. So, for example, in my field of injury epidemiology, we have epidemiologists who do surveillance, and then we have epidemiologists who do field work, or they say field, but really it's just implementing and creating interventions. And it sounds to me like there's a lack of interventions for the coral reef. So they just have everyone doing surveillance and reporting surveillance, but then nobody is implementing or suggesting interventions. And I wonder if like an environmental epidemiologist could help with something like this, because it sounds like a case for them, even though they might not be marine environmentalists. I'm not sure.
Yes, absolutely, and that is part of what this new world is all about. Precisely that. It is that we don't stay in our own silos. Like, well, I'm a marine biologist. You are an accountant or whatever, or you're a psychologist. What can you teach me? Well, give me a chance. Who knows? And so it is breaking down those silos and moving into what we call transdisciplinary approaches to challenges. And it is precisely this that forms the backbone of group creativity, to understand that there is diversity out there, and in that diversity is the power for new discoveries, new innovations, new thoughts, new approaches, precisely for that. Because we've always approached protecting corals like this. Well, have you tried maybe the way a vet? I'm just pulling things out of the air here. A vet treats a horse. Maybe there's something in there that you've never considered in the context of the marine environment that might actually revolutionize the way you approach coral diseases. So understand that I am a facilitator. I am not Mr. Super Guru of creativity with all the ideas, because the creative ideas come from within us. And one of the things that I love about my job is I walk into a room, I walk into a session. Perhaps I know what the challenge is, but I don't have any idea what the solutions are going to look like. And when I see them emerge, it just gives me a high.
So creativity is basically your passion for the most part.
Creativity is my passion, and let me back up a little bit, because Fionn asked me basically what is creativity, and I kind of talked about what it is not. It's not art and music and dance. But to bring it down to a concise definition, creativity is novelty that is useful, something that is new and novel and has some sort of application, can be used.
Gotcha.
Simple as that. Yes, but
Thank
that's
you.
creativity is my passion. And we'll talk more about passions as well, hopefully.
Definitely. Yeah. So how can somebody improve their creativity if they're not feeling as creative as like the next person?
Yeah, and also, what kind of stuff causes people to lose creativity?
Right. Okay. Good questions. Just jotting a note because I am an expert rabbit hole runner. So you're
Well,
gonna have to
welcome. You're
pull
in the
me
right
back
place.
occasionally. So let's talk about what hinders people from being creative. And um, um, there are lots of blockages. So we need to understand, first of all, get this out of the way, we are all creative individuals. Again, one of the things that I love is I'll have a session and people will be coming into the meeting, and I might introduce myself, before things get started, and they'll say, well, I don't know why I'm here because I'm really not a very creative person.
Mm.
And I go, yeah, we'll see about that. And by the time they leave, they're like, wow, I didn't realize I was such a creative person. I go home and try some of this stuff. And when I see that transformation in a human, again, makes me excited. Now, why do we think that we're not creative? For a number of reasons, there are a lot of mental blockages that we set up over our life. And for different reasons, some of them are legitimate in a sense, but at the same time, they create dysfunctionality in our creativity. So I'll give you a simple one, and again, it's something that I use in my sessions. I'll tell the group to stand, and I'm going to give you a simple instruction. I want you all to kick your butts, and they will and they will stand and they will try their best to kick their heel, their butts with the back of their heel or something creative like that. And that's kind of creative. But the point is this, and I'll say, sit down. You all failed. I said, I want you to learn to kick your BUTS, the butts in our heads. Oh, I had a really good idea, but I had no money. Or I see something on the job and I was going to talk to my boss about it, but he ain't going to go for it. And we throw those butts in like roadblocks. Not only do we do it to ourselves, we do it to each other. Right?
Yeah.
So Kurt gonna come and tell me, Nick, I was thinking, and I'm gonna start doing some podcasts and stuff like that. And I said, Kurt, that's a good idea, but I don't think you're gonna get the following. Boom. You see it?
Yeah.
Yep. This happens a lot.
You see it?
I've experienced
It
it a lot.
happens a lot. And you know what's interesting? Even in the language, people will say, that's a good idea, but and they drop their voice at the but the but is the biggest part of the statement.
Yep.
And our brain picks up the but. So one of the things I teach people is to be cognizant of the buts that we tell ourselves. And be cognizant of the buts that we tell others, because we killing people's ideas every day when we in conversation, and we end up saying, I am not smart enough, but I am not smart enough, but I am not rich enough, but I am not good enough, and you fill in the blank. But it's always preceded by a but. So the first thing we need to learn to do is kick our butts. All right? Now, how do we improve on our creative potential? I'm gonna give you just a broad brush answer for that one, because there are hundreds of tools and techniques that we can use, and that is what I do as a facilitator. I would say that one of the first things we need to do is understand our creative thinking style preference. So research has shown that yes, we are all creative individuals, but the way in which we think creatively can be broken down into 4 basic preferences, 4 different styles. So once you start to understand your style, then you can see it in the context of, and just a quick run through. And of course, because our brains are complex and we are humans and we're complex beings, it's a little bit more complicated than that. But the four fundamental categories are, some of us are clarifiers. We like to get information. We feel like we need to have information before we can move forward. Some of us are what we call ideators. You just give them a problem and they're off and running with ideas and solutions. Some of us are developers in the way we think, in the sense that you give us the idea and we'll put the wheels on it. We'll run with it. We'll develop it into something bigger, better, faster, stronger. And then we have the implementers. They just want to get moving and start doing something. These are, I have to point this out, this is very important. These are preferences. These are not personality types.
Gotcha.
And so because of the preferences, like how you prefer to use your right hand instead of your left hand, you can also learn how to function in the other areas outside of your comfort zone. They're all open to all of us.
Okay.
The other thing real quickly I'll say, and I'll try to shut up, is that the most productive or effective creative thinking or creative problem-solving process happens when you have individuals who represent all of the preferences together working on it. The problem is we don't like people who think differently to us. If I'm somebody who likes to implement, I like to do things, okay? And you, Freon, you are somebody who wants more information. You asking questions. You driving me up the wall. Why you need to know so much questions? Why are you asking me? Let's just get this thing moving. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the four.
Like me and my wife.
Huh?
It sound like me and my wife.
It works even in the context of interpersonal relationships. This is not something just only for the lab or the workplace. It transcends even our relationships in our families and our friendships. Okay.
Wow. I might need to take a course one of these days because you just dropped some words, man. One thing I think is going to be the take-home message today is to kick your butts.
Kick your butts.
That made me think of so many times where I've told someone an idea and then they tell me, well, blah, 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 but blah, blah, blah. And then I, sometimes they get in my head and I say, well, they're probably right. Let me not even try. Other times I push through and I'm like, you know what? I don't agree with them. I'm going to still try and see what happens. Or I'm going to figure it out on my own somehow. But I will say more often than not, hearing it or even thinking it yourself makes you not try because you feel like, well, why try if I know I'm going to fail?
Yes. Yes. I'll give you a quick story on that. I had a buddy who worked in the airline industry for many years. He loved the airline industry, loved traveling, the benefits and all of that. He had to take a time out because of some illness, extended illness, and then tried to get back in and wasn't getting back in. He'd be sending me resumes, asked me to help him with his resume and all this stuff. And I said to him one day, look, I know you love the airline industry. How about coming up with something creative and new and innovative for the airline industry? And he said, like what? And I said, I'm sure you've been there. If you've traveled more than twice, you've been there, maybe even once. We get to our destination, we're standing at the conveyor belt waiting for our bags to come off, and you have that anxious moment of, did my bag make it? You know what I mean? Is it gonna come in, And so I said, people are using the pit tags to implant into animals so that if the animal goes astray, you can still kind of track them. How about if we had developed a suitcase with a tracker tag? This is, again, going back a couple of years now, right? But with a tracker tag and an app. So when you get to your destination, you can open the app and you know whether your bag is with you at JFK or if it's on its way to Rio. Man, that ain't gonna work because I said, okay. And I don't remember a year and a half later, I sent him a link one day. He said, "What's this?" I said, "Open it." I said, "You open it?" He said, "Yeah, it's advertising a suitcase." I said, "Did you read it?" Samsonite. You know Samsonite suitcases? One of the most popular brands of suitcases. Guess what? They're marketing suitcases with tags in them that you can track. But he had his butt ready for me. BUT, that is, just to be clear. And I said, okay, the next time I give you an idea, you're going to have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, but we do that all the time. We throw in the butts and we paralyze ourselves.
I feel like there's a time when we have to realize that we're always thinking like, what's the next idea we can think of to be more innovative or more creative? And we always want to have the next best thing. And sometimes it's right in the palm of our hands, but because of the buds,
Yes,
we miss out. And then like a
yes,
year later, you see your idea on TV.
yes, yes. Or like Fion said, yeah, we kill it. And you know, the other thing that happens?
Mm,
You see somebody with a simple idea, pet rocks,
yeah,
and making millions, and you go, man, I wish I had thought of that.
yeah.
How many times have we said that? Man, I wish I had thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably did, but the butt came up and killed it, and we moved on.
Yeah. I would like to say that
So,
for Fion, when I tell him ideas, he's never given me a butt ever. He's always going above and beyond. So I kind of make my own butt because he doesn't give me a chance to, and that's what I appreciate about him personally. That's when to put
I'm a
out there.
that's a good
facilitator.
friend to have.
Yeah.
I'm a
This,
facilitator. I'm
yeah.
a person. Anytime someone comes to me with something, I'm always
Mhm.
thinking how to make this thing happen. I never think, well, this is what could make it not happen. Because
Mhm.
for me, Kurt know this. I'm a very optimistic person generally.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I always see the silver lining. I always see the positives. It's rare for me to see the negatives, unless it's something like racism. Then I see the negatives all the
Yeah.
time. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think in life we all need someone like that, someone who gonna be your quote unquote hype man to take your idea and run with it, even if it's something that could seem like science fiction. I feel like you always need someone who's gonna help you with that, to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a boss one time. We had I wasn't a boss, sorry, a colleague, and we had an idea, and it was kind of in my department. I said, "What's a good idea? I'll take it to my boss." And I took it to my boss, and he said, in long story short, no.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it back to my colleague, and I said, the boss said no, and my colleague's immediate response was, "Well, we're just gonna have to find somebody in the organization who says yes."
Yep.
And at that point in my time, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh no, you can't do that." My boss says, "No, it did. Leave it there," you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the only closed door is a door that we accept is closed,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
And you have to watch that as
The
well with.
other thing I want to say, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say you have to watch it as well with bosses and colleagues that they might turn on your idea just to have it as their own idea to turn in later on. So you need to be careful with accepting the
Absolutely,
butts.
absolutely. And let me flip that a little bit. Bosses need to be careful when employees come to them with ideas, and the boss says, but we don't have money for that, right? And guess what? If you are an employee like Fion, you're gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna quit this job. I'm gonna go across the road. I'm gonna open another business, my own business, doing the same thing, but offering my innovative service or my creative service. And you run that same boss out of town who didn't give legitimacy to your idea. It happens. So we need to know to be able to foster creativity in each other.
Yes.
One other quick thing I want to say is that, again, it's getting back to the question, how do we improve? Creativity is like a muscle, believe it or not. It's a brain thing, which is not muscle tissue. But again, researchers have shown the more creative exercises, practices, activities we engage in, our the neurons, our neural configuration changes. the brain becomes better at being creative.
Oh,
Fact.
nice.
And listen, it could be as seemingly insignificant as today I'm going to brush my teeth with my non-dominant hand. I'm going to learn how to do it with my non-dominant hand. You are causing the brain to rewire to, I'm not a neurologist, so, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Causing the brain to figure out how to do something, the same thing you've done routinely for the last 40 years or whatever, differently.
Yep.
And that improves the brain's creative functioning.
Good.
Yeah, that sounds like it makes sense to me. I learned how to do a lot of stuff with my left hand. I'm not a naturally ambidextrous person, but I've become ambidextrous over time from just doing it once a day, every day, until I can do it. I can eat with chopsticks with both my hands. I can write with, well, I can't write yet, but I'm working on writing with both my hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I think a lot of things that we feel we can't do now just requires us to practice at it at least once a day. And I know for sure, like they say that they have the saying, practice makes perfect. But I think someone told me recently that's not a good saying. It should be practice makes better. And so you kind of
I
confirm
like that. I like that. By the way, there's a great book. You may know the name Sanjay Gupta.
Yes.
Name ring a bell? He's CNN's medical reporter. He wrote a book called Keep Sharp, Build a Better Brain at Any Age. And he just explores that development of the neurons, the brain muscles, if you will. But the point that he makes is simply that the more we do that, the more we stay functionally efficient as we age. So it debunks the whole myth about aging and mental decline. Our brains decline just like our muscles atrophy when we don't use them.
So that means you're strongly against can't teach a dog new tricks.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Every day we can learn new tricks. Even an old dog like me, I'm learning new tricks.
Look at you on Discord and everything.
They are right.
So I guess we could stick in the realm of creativity. So we have a point here about using creativity in everyday life. How would you suggest people go about their day being the most creative they can be?
Right. So let me give you a classic example of this. And again, it's fostering ideas that come from within you or come from without, from other people. You both have kids. You have kids? Anyway,
I do.
Not
you
yet.
have maybe younger brothers, sisters, cousins, whatever, nieces, nephews, whatever. That niece or nephew or whatever comes to you with an idea. But let's assume for the moment that you're a parent and your 8 or 9-year-old comes to you and says, I would like to have 10 of my closest friends over for the weekend, right? Spend the weekend with me.
Okay.
Immediate reaction is like, you're crazy, right? Inside.
Not
But
me.
you don't do that because you don't want to kill the idea. You say, you say, and actually there's a little mnemonic that goes with this. It's point, P-O-I-N-T. If you write that down, we can walk through it together. So the P stands for be positive. Always be positive when an idea is presented to you, because you can't kill it. You can't kill it on arrival. You don't even know what its merits are. So you say, okay, well, let's think about that for a little bit. Again, you can start by being negative and saying, look, go sit down. You see, we have COVID, right? Start by being positive. You say, okay, well, let's think about that, right? Start by being positive. The O talks about the opportunities. So you're moving through this P-O. The O says, look for the opportunities. And you say, you know what? 10 of your friends together will give me, first of all, an opportunity to get to meet the kind of people that you're associating with. What sorts of relationships are you forming?
Mm-hmm.
How are you socializing? What is the dynamic? Are you a leader or a follower? It gives me an opportunity to observe you in a social setting. It also gives you, the child, an opportunity to develop social skills. Because the child, in a sense, now, if that happens, they have to manage 9 or 10 people, 10 of their friends, in rapid succession, if you will. So you say, well, yeah, I can see some really good opportunities for that because it would build your social skills and it give me an opportunity to meet some of your friends, maybe some of their parents. I see some opportunities with it. Now we already gone to the buts, but we're gonna walk through this slowly and carefully, methodically. So we get to the I's. The I is the issues. And even the issues that we have, the way you express them, you don't express them in a negative way. I have an issue, well, I don't have the money. No. Again, you use certain terms, and I teach these in my sessions. You use statement starters like, how might we? What are all the ways that we might? So how might we cover, meals and all these stuff? How might we accommodate 10 people in our 1-bedroom apartment? How might we have this event and keep kids healthy because we're now in a COVID world, not endanger anybody? How might we? What are all the ways? Okay? And you give that to the child as a project, because you could work it out and say, but no, you want to foster their creative thinking. So give it some more thought, Johnny. Discuss it with your sister, even discuss it with your auntie, see what ideas you can come up with, and come back and let's come up with some new thinking on how we might approach this. And Johnny might come back to you and say, you know what, you really raised some good questions and I thought about it. Maybe it might be better to just have three of my friends over. Or maybe we don't have them over. Maybe we just do a little thing at the beach. You see what just happened? Mm-hmm. Johnny has had total ownership. You have fostered his ability to think creatively. And you had the problem solved without even coming up with a solution yourself. Mm-hmm. And if I may, had we gone the other route with that one, the next time Johnny have an idea, he ain't coming to you because he already know what you're going to say.
Yeah. That's powerful.
And yeah, and again, that also happens if we can segue in the school settings. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
When you have a kid, if you have a kid, remember we talked about the 4 categories. If you have a kid who is an ideator who likes to come up with ideas and comes up with an idea for a class activity or whatever, teacher says, all right, okay, now we're going to do whatever. And the kid says, teacher, I have another idea. Maybe we can do it this way instead of that way.
Yeah.
How many teachers are going to entertain that?
Few.
It all depends on, again, the teacher's thinking style preference. If the teacher is an ideator like the student, they will be comfortable with, well, let's talk about that idea. Maybe some other ideas. Anybody else have any ideas? Watch it now. If the kid is, and these preferences, by the way, just like right hand and left hand preferences, have been shown to develop very early in life. Okay? If you have a kid now who is a clarifier in the classroom, they like information, they like fact. Please, teacher, I have a question. Mm-hmm. Oh, Lord, Billy, how much questions you going to ask me today? Look, you're annoying me. Go and stand by the door.
Wow.
You see it?
Yeah.
Go, you're getting on my nerves. You're slowing down the class. Stop asking so much questions. Go and stand by the door. Next thing you know, the principal passed. Why are you standing by the door? Come in the office with me. Now Billy is labeled as a troublemaker. And all Billy is a clarifier. That is his thinking style preference. And by the time Billy get back to the class, it's a different mind. You see me, I gotta sit down here, I ain't asking no questions. I don't like that teacher, and that teacher don't like me. Anybody been there?
I think my son is currently there.
I think my wife is a clarifier, and I will be honest, I often get annoyed by all the questions. But I'm like, it's weird because now that you're pointing it out, now I feel bad because I'm like, that's her style. That's how she gets to figure things out.
Yes.
Dang.
It's all
good. And so watch it now. I got goosebumps right now because I know you're moving to a different place, but I'm going to move you even further along because you are now in your head, I'm assuming, moving to, I need to be more tolerant of my wife and allow her to ask the questions. And I'm going to push that envelope just a little further. Not tolerant. You need to recognize that you need her to ask those questions.
Oh yeah, I recognized that a long time ago.
Right, because if you're planning your holiday or whatever, those questions need to be asked before you get on the plane.
Yep.
So, honey, let's what do you think about this? And hear her questions. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
So it's not just tolerance; it is embracing, understanding the need for people who think differently to ourselves because they make our event or process or product, whatever it is, better.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail right on the head. There's been so many times where she's thought of something that I would have never thought to ask. And because she asked that question, it shifted the gear into a whole different way that we would have missed, an opportunity that we could have potentially missed. So yeah, you're right. It's like for me, I have to find the balance between really appreciating it and fighting my own ire, my own annoyance with it.
Yes.
I feel like I constantly at war and reminding myself, Fian, remember the time when she asked these questions and it helped? Don't get annoyed right now. She probably going to unlock something in your own brain to make you think of something new.
Yeah.
Which often happens.
Yes. But think about it in the other setting that I said. You're gonna take the time because you recognize you need her and you don't particularly want to sleep on the sofa tonight. So you're gonna, bite your tongue and like, yes, dear. But when you are in a position of authority like a teacher or a supervisor, and you get that same annoyance from another human being, you're in control of them. You're gonna remove that bug from your ear. Yeah. However you need to do it. And so it then evolves into a whole different dynamic. I keep harping on the schools because I think, like everything, there's a saying that says bend the tree when it's young or something like that. And I think that we need to introduce creative thinking into the elementary schools and the high schools. So I just throw that out there. We need to do a better job of training kids to think creatively, fostering that mental process, that mindset early. But so far, we're not doing that, guys. We're not doing that in our school systems. And again, to get back to my original point, they need it. They need it as a backdrop to the world, this VUCA world that we're handing to them.
Yeah.
Regardless of what profession they choose.
I wish I had done a little bit of research here because I feel like oftentimes in the Caribbean, our schools, or I don't know about the whole Caribbean, I could only speak for the USVI, but oftentimes I feel like we're a little bit behind. We're always lagging behind. And I wonder if European schools have already established some type of creativity or critical thinking courses that help their students with this kind of stuff, whereas we're lagging behind. And then to make matters worse, the US is lagging behind, and we are lagging behind the US. So I guess what I wish I had researched was how have these schools implemented it, because I currently don't know. I could think of some ideas on my own, but do you know how potential implementations or how we could implement these kind of stuff?
Again, that's a whole.
Or do we need to revamp our entire education system before we can even implement this?
Woof.
Well, let me give you a couple of seconds to think, Nick. I have a personal anecdote to give about my experience growing up. So I'm a year ahead of my cousin in life. So I'm older than him. But when I used to go down to Dominica for the summers, he would still be in school, and he would bring home homework, and I'm like, "What is this?" Like it was so advanced for me, and I found that work in my own life later on, like a year later or 2 years later. I found like the work that he was doing in our schools in the VI. So it's like it's a different ball game almost, because when children come from the other Caribbean islands to the USVI, they're usually put ahead of their age because they're so advanced in what they're learning already. So I think what Fionn is saying has a lot of merit in that. They might already have ways to try and foster some form of creativity that we're not seeing, and we need to do something about it. Which was always my thought growing up. Is like, why does he know all this before me? And why they come in here and they just being ahead of us at a younger age, and they graduate at 15, 16, because they already learned the things that we learned so long ago.
Absolutely, 100%. And so to Fionn's original question, yes, Europe, I can't say all, but many of the nations in Europe get it. Canada gets it. The US is kind of getting it, but they got a lot going on. And we won't even comment on the last secretary of the Department of Education. So they're a little behind the 8 ball, right? But listen, reading, writing, arithmetic, and creativity, that's the new package. That's the new package in the schools because they get it. But to your point, Kurt, I think the USVA and the rest of the Caribbean to some extent, but yes, I've also experienced that, coming out of the British West Indies, the whole education system, the sense of priorities and all that. But we generally have this mentality of, well, again, watch it. It looked like a good idea. It sounded like a good idea, but, right? Let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
So we always 5 or 6 steps behind the cutting edge. Why? We don't need to be. We don't need to be. We could be leaders. And the interesting thing about us is that we are, in a lot of ways, our education, our schools, we are a microcosm. So we can actually do the experiments in small settings, see the results, and then promote them or extrapolate them out to bigger systems. Fionn, your original question, though, is kind of complicated. So the simple answer is yes, we need to, and we should, and all that. We should be introducing it into our schools. Exactly how that is done and whether we need to revamp the system. Like I said, that alone would take 2 hours to discuss, because there's we would need to re-examine a lot of what we're doing right around. The teachers, starting with the teachers, as I've been saying, need to be re-educated to understand what this creativity thing is all about, to understand the diversity of creative students that they have before them in the classroom, and how do they foster the various creative thinking styles without alienating or leaving anybody behind. That's the job in itself. Then we need to look at creativity as an additional or separate discipline, if you will, reading, writing, arithmetic, creativity. But also, how do we weave creativity into the other subjects, into the geography and the English and all of those things, so that it functions as a comprehensive and collaborative package. So that's not an easy one to answer on the fly.
Yeah, it sounds like you would need a whole entire team to do that, because you would have to basically draft a plan to implement all the stuff, and then to do checks and balances, make sure it's actually working,
Yes,
or make sure it's actually
correct.
going according to plan. Yeah, that sounds like it's gonna, but I think it's possible. I think it's very possible. I think, honestly, well, I'm making my butt, so let me stop. But I was gonna say, honestly, stuff like this is very interesting to me. How to create and implement things that's supposed to improve a system. So, for example, I was telling Kurt that I was writing this book. I am writing this book about improving the Black community in America and stuff like that. And this kind of remind me of that, because it's another thing that I could potentially, I could see myself going down the rabbit hole, trying to make a plan to do this. But and you see, as you said, I keep thinking of these buts, but I don't have time. But so it's honestly, kicking your own butt is really hard. And I keep, now that I'm more conscious of it, it's just keep noticing it.
Yeah. Well, and again, just replace it with how might we? What are all the ways? Something like that. And that opens the door. And our brain is such. Again, we hold the levers to our brain. So the minute if I say to you guys, how might we improve the transportation system in the Virgin Islands? Your brain gone. Your brain start thinking about things. If you say we can't improve the transportation system, your brain says, okay, wake me up when you got something else for me to do. So that's where it is, and yeah, I'm passionate about this because, like I said, and you said it's possible. I say it's essential. And again, one more a quick example, because again, this is not something that we would teach that they can then use like in geography or arithmetic or whatever. It is something that's life changing. So when they go home and let's say we have a hurricane and something happens, the power's out or whatever, some little even very localized issue. The child who is thinking creatively gonna go, okay, how might we address this? What are all the ways that we can fix this? Not just get scared and feel overwhelmed and go into trauma, because they have a different mindset that they take into every aspect of their lives.
So I have two things. Okay, you go first, Mina, and then I'll go.
Well, I actually have a personal question to ask.
Okay, well, before you do that, I just want to say we're almost an hour in, more or less, and we've only touched the iceberg of all the things that we have to talk about, which I greatly appreciate. I always like when we have guests on, and I feel like this should be like a 3 or 4 hour episode, which is, extreme, but like that's the feeling I get, that the three of us just keep talking and talking and talking. I'd like to thank everybody watching right now. I appreciate it. I appreciate the likes on the video. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, going to Nick's pages, contacting him, even though you're already his fans. Nick, I appreciate you so much for being here. Again, just want to say that in the middle of the show.
Pleasure.
We don't have much questions in the chat right now, but people are saying that the things that we're talking about are really important and they're really deep. And again, thanks for everybody for being here. Me, no, you too. Okay, go ahead.
So the personal question I have is, so during our off-camera talks, we were talking about finding your passion, and how when you find your passion, it promotes your creativity. And you even brought up Rihanna and how she's pursuing her passion, and she used music as a stepping stone. But one of the things I always struggle with throughout my life, because I've been told by several people, for like, I don't want to name names, but I could think of 2 individuals who told me that I was not ambitious, I'm not an ambitious person, etc. But I always felt like I thought I was ambitious. So I asked a girl I was dating once, well, what do you mean by ambition? And she told me, I don't seem like I have anything that I'm passionate about, that I want to pursue passionately. And I always thought, well, how do I know what I'm passionate about? how do I identify that? And then how do I know I don't already have something that I'm passionate about, but I just don't present my passion the same way other people might present theirs?
Okay. All right. So for the next hour, so let's go down this rabbit hole of passion a little bit. Yes, the research shows that people who connect with their passion, people who find their passions in life, are more creative, but not only more creative, they are more self-fulfilled in their lives. So that's a good reason for wanting to connect with your passions. How do we know when we found our passions? I'm working on a book right now, so I'm going to give you a half-baked answer. One, because the jury's still out in my head in some areas, and I'm interviewing people and stuff like that. So we can talk some more on that level. But also, I want you to buy the book, so I ain't giving you the whole book now, and then you say, "Oh, I heard that book on the podcast, so I don't need it."
Oh, I'm buying it either way.
Good. So the title of the book is The 7 Secrets of People Who Have Found Their Passions. And I am interviewing people, and I hope to talk to Rihanna, but not just the superstars. I've done some interviews, farmers, fishermen, writers, the entire spectrum. How do you find your passion in life? Again, not a simple answer, but one of the things I do with people who, especially people who say they have, kind of 3 categories. You get people who say, I don't have no passion in life. There's nothing that I'm passionate about. And I will say to them, I think you need to say, I have not encountered anything yet in my life that has really stirred my passion. Right? So that's a journey in itself. Then there are people who will tell you what we've been saying. Oh, I know what my passion is, but. Right? But. And then there are people who have found their passion and who are living their passion. 3 basic categories. And there are, some in-betweens. But what I do when people do tell me that they have found their passion, I say this as, and so there's no again, no quick fix on this. There's no, one question that you can ask and people know. It's a process, and that is part of what I do. I help people to navigate towards their passion, or find out, if they know what it is, how to develop it, how to make it a part of their lives to the extent that they want to do that. Now, but just on a very general level, if I'm in conversation with somebody, say, oh yeah, I got my passion, I'll say, okay, I have something to tell you. I don't tell too many people this, but I'm an extremely wealthy individual. Okay? I'm also very well connected to all sorts of people and resources. And I want to help you with whatever you want to do in your life. If I said to you, I can make unlimited money and resources available to you, what would you do? What would you do with that opportunity? Right? Where would you go? What would you be running with? And if they say anything other than some version of, I would just do more of what I'm doing right now, I'm like, okay, you're connected with your passion. If they say, well, I would stop doing this and I would start doing that, and I would, do this for kids or whatever, I'm like, okay, that tells me that chances are you are not in total sync with your passion yet. So finding your passion is when you are in that place where you can't not do what you're doing. It is a thing that motivates you, that drives you, that gets you up in the morning excited and glad to be alive. And it is a thing that nobody can come with you come at you with a but and take it out of your hands. But there's several other criteria that help people to understand whether they are truly walking in their passion and embracing their passion, or whether they're doing something, and here's a big distinction. Doing what you're good at is not necessarily what you're passionate about. There was a story about an individual who loved the stage, and their passion was the stage. They wanted to be a stage actor, not film. They wanted to be a stage actor. And that was their dream, and that was their passion as far as they were concerned. And they finally got an audition. It was their first audition, and they were excited, of course, because now their passion is unfolding. And they did the audition, and as it turned out, they couldn't act their way out of a paper bag. And they were really crushed, obviously. And they're like, well, I thought this was my passion. And they were hanging around in the theater after their audition and after being told that, nah, not so much. And somebody was working with costumes, and they said, hey, can you give me a hand? I want you to help me with this thing and all of that. And they went and assisted. And actually, the person was like, you're pretty good with this. You've done this before? No. Long story short, that person ended up getting a Best Costume Designer Award down the road. So their passion was in the theater, and they thought it was on the stage, but as it turned out, it was off the stage in another aspect of the theater. The other thing, I'll say this real quick, that really excites me is when people come to me and tell me, I have two passions. It's something that I'm still working out in my head because I'm still evolving in my thinking as I'm writing this book. Can a person have more than one passion? And I started out as saying, no, if you got two passions, one should be more passionate than the other one. Yeah. But I'm finding that there are people who actually appear to have two equally powerful, if you will, passions. And classic example, one person that I worked with, and they said, I am passionate about doing things with kids, but I'm also very passionate about horses. And I know her, and she is very passionate about horses. And then one day, as we were working through, I said, you know what? Maybe your passion, your true passion, is something, I'm just doing a quick example, something that doesn't quite exist right now. Maybe your passion is the mashup between kids and horses. And let's explore that. Maybe your passion is something else totally new and innovative and creative, that as we evolve it and develop it, somebody's going to look at you and say, I wish I had thought of that. There's my rooster, guys. He's passionate too. And I'm passionate about getting him in my pot. I'll let you know when that happens. But you see what I mean? Part of creativity is the doors are always open, the opportunities, are always there to take it to another level.
So I want to throw back that question to you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do with infinite resources and funding? What would you?
Oh my goodness.
What would you do with it?
Oh my goodness. Exactly what I'm doing right now. And I can say that from my heart, not because it is the right answer in this setting, because my passion is helping people to connect with their passions, helping people to discover their passions. I think one of the saddest things is for any of us to go through life. Yeah, you go to school, you get the degrees, whatever, you get a job, you're good at it, and then you die, you marry, you have kids, then you die, and you never truly connect with your passion, which I would also, from my belief system, say your passion is equal to your purpose in this life. And So many of us go to our graves and never, it's the saddest thing. Yeah, you were a successful supervisor in your department or whatever, but you never really found what you were passionate about. And to the extent that I can help people discover their passion and get on the road to making their passion everything that it can be for them. That's, for me, that's the greatest service that I could give to mankind, I believe, at this stage. So I'd be doing more of what I'm doing.
What about you, Mino?
I was just about to ask you the same question, but let me go ahead since you beat me to the punch. I think if I had unlimited money and resources, I would be in activism. I would probably run for president or something like that. Like, not necessarily because I want to be president, but because I feel that leadership in the Caribbean, in USVI, leadership in America, I don't feel like we have good leaders right now. And I feel that I could be the enemy. I think, so let me expound on what I'm saying here. I think a lot of politicians are worried about looking bad. You know, they rather do short-term fixes instead of long-term fixes because the long-term fixes might cause things to be bad at first before they start to improve. And what does that mean? Well, I'm not going to get reelected because in the short term, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And so I'm not going to even do that. I'd rather do the short-term fixes, make everybody think I'm doing a great job, get reelected again. So I think I would be that politician who's willing to be the bad guy, willing to be, you know, make them budget cuts, places people saying that I shouldn't and stuff like that. But I think on a smaller scale, more so activism because I want to improve the Black experience in America. In the Caribbean, even, as I said, I'm writing a book. My book talks about a lot of different things, you know, mostly based on the Black Panthers, where they had public health services in their community. They had people trying to help improve the community. A lot of people don't know this about the Black Panthers. Their history is actually very different from what most people know about them, thinking that they were terrorists and all these kind of things. So that would be my passion. I would finish my book and then I would immediately start trying to implement the stuff that are in my book into like real world scenarios. And even when we're talking about creativity in elementary schools and creativity in schools, immediately I started thinking of, okay, how can we do this solution? And I was, again, I think overall, I'm a solution oriented person and I like thinking of ways to solve problems and then implement those solutions. So I think that's what I would spend my life doing. Just somebody come to me with a problem, a macro scale problem, and I would work with a team and try to figure out that problem to help better mankind overall. I think that would be what I would do.
I like that. So for me, I've always wanted to build like after school centers, but huge ones, like that would encompass all ages, all grade levels, and still have a place to just relax. Because in my mind, if you put a place where children can still grow after school, it'll be good, especially for people that work 2, 3 jobs and they don't have the time to do homework with their kids. It would be a place for them to go do their homework, stay off the streets, make friendships, and do things with their minds beyond just being in the street, being in the road, being around the wrong crowd. And I found that my wife surprisingly also had the same idea as me. She told me one day, I was like, "This is not your idea." She's like, "Yeah." And it's like literally almost the same idea that we had to build a center or like an after school place because she loves kids and I like kids too. And I like teaching. So I would do something like that in
Yeah.
well, more so back home because that's where my idea started. But all over the place, just build centers where kids can go after school to do homework, make friendships, learn to be creative, XYZ.
Yeah.
Would you say your passion is to build those things, or your passion is to implement things to help communities?
I would say more so the second one. But to answer your question, I don't quite know what my passion is. I was speaking to Nick after our meeting, and it's like he asked me what's my passion. And I'm like, I have no idea. I've always gone through life being good at whatever I tried to do. So I was teaching at UVI. I was great at that. I was doing port sampling with a private company. I was great at that. I did data analysis. I was good at that. So like, I felt personally like those were my individual passions as I went along my chapters of life. But the ones that really stand out will be data analysis and video editing. That's the things I like the most.
Well, guys, I have some good news. I'm offering my services to both of you to help you track towards discovering your package.
Mm-hmm.
And you will be eligible for my friends and family 2% discount on my regular fees. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. Wow. But certainly I would love to take you through the assessment for understanding your thinking style preference.
Could you list them
Although
again?
it sounds like, huh?
Could you list them again? Sorry, the preferences.
Oh, yes, yes. Clarifiers,
Mm-hmm.
people who like information, who like to, you know, as I say, measure twice and cut once.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they like to get the clarifiers, the ideators.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an ideator, by the way. Well, I love new ideas. Love new ideas. They can come up, you know, just throw an issue at them and they can start generating ideas. The developers, who are the ones who will take the idea and take it to the next level. As I say, put the wheels on the idea. And the implementers are the ones who will make it happen. And by the way, as I said, it is a process. It is a creative thinking style process, and we do it all the time. You hear a loud crash around you right now.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we're going to do is go into clarify mode. What's that? What just happened? We're clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay? And you figure out, well, you know, a tree just crashed on the building or something. Now you start coming up with ideas. Well, what do I need to do? Do I need to rush out the front door? Do I need to stay in the building? You know, do I need to call somebody? What about the neighbors? Whatever. And you're ideating.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've come up with an idea, okay, I need to run out the door, then you start to develop. Do I need to take my laptop with me? You know, whatever. And so you run out the door, yes, but I don't have any clothes. Do I need to put clothes on? You know, so you're developing the idea.
Mm.
And then once you figure that out, you implement, you run the hell out the door because the building may be collapsing. So it's something that we do all the time. And all that the researchers have done is broken down this process into stages and thinking style preferences and made a model out of it, basically.
So someone in the comments says that this needs to be a series because there's so much more that you can share on the thought processes there. So this is our subtle invitation.
Sorry, Kurt, say that again. You're breaking up, please.
It said someone in the comments said that this needs to be a series because you have so much more to share. So this is our subtle invitation to come on to future episodes and continue this conversation.
I'd be happy to if it works for you guys.
Definitely.
We can zero in on maybe one of the issues, finding your passion or whatever. And I'll tell you this real quickly. So in my thing of my whole realm of helping people to connect to their passions, one of the things that I dream of doing, if you guys ever coming to that money, is because here's another factor, and this is actually one of the 7 secrets. I'll give you this one for free. And the secret is never say you're too old. Never say you're too old to find your passion or too young. Right? Some people find their passion at age 6 because of something that's happened or some sort of serendipitous experience that they've had. Some people find their passion at age 40. And so, you know, you can't say age 40, age 50, whatever. And so, but in terms of helping young people, which is my passion of passions, helping young, but you know, everybody to find their passion, I would like to be in a situation where I I could say because sometimes there are kids in school, right?
Yeah.
Our school, formal school, and they love horses. For argument's sake, this is actually partially true. And so, the geography, history, and the French ain't really cutting it for them. So they're bored in school. They can't wait for school to be over to go by the racetrack or whoever keeping horses, get a horse and go ride it on the beach. We know that's part of the VI culture, at least Crucian culture, right? And they may even start cutting school. Now, as far as the system is concerned, again, they're a problem child because they ain't coming to school. So much of their problem. They found their passion. So I wish that I could be in a place where I had unlimited funds and I could say to kids like that, if they're kids and use motorcycles or whatever, I could say, okay, we're going to pull you out of school for a year and we're going to pay for you to apprentice, whatever you want to call it, with a horse stable or a motorcycle manufacturing company. So you're going to get a little bit of salary or whatever. We're not depending on the company to say yes or no, because we're going to pay the company to take you on. And I give you the opportunity to immerse in this thing that you think is your passion. Now, maybe after 6 months, the kid goes, you know what, I thought, but yeah, maybe not so much. It's okay. Let's go back to school, keep exploring, keep seeking your passion. How awesome would that be?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That reminds me of a conversation I had recently with my wife, where we were talking about when we have children, how are we going to foster them, their creativity. It's surprising because we're talking about this before this show, before you and I even met. How are we going to foster their creativity? How are we going to help them find their passion and stuff like that? And that's exactly what you just said is what we were going to do. Just put them in something, let them explore, let them see how they feel about it. Don't let them give up just because they're not good at it, but let them stop if they feel, this isn't really my style or this isn't really for me. But just give them opportunities to do that. I think oftentimes as well in the Black community, our but is that we don't have time to have our kids do these things, or we don't have the money for our kids to do these things. But we need to figure out how to kick our butts on this matter, because I think, Black people, we're very creative, I feel. We move art, we move culture, we move music. We have so much creativity. So it's like we need to allow our children to express that, to explore that. So
absolutely,
I really like what you said.
I know. I'm smiling because you add to that list food, because we're going back in history now. Don't forget, we were given what is called the offal from the animals in the slave day and post-slave day to figure out what the hell to do with it for our meals. And we use everything except the oink, as they say, on the pig.
Yeah.
Right? So when the plantation owner give us the scraps, whether it's the pig belly or the head or whatever, we go, dinner is served. We're going to come up with. So we are very resourceful individuals. You're right. And we just need the opportunity, and so. Yeah.
So how would that affect the education of the child moving forward, taking them out of school for a year?
Listen.
I'm just, asking questions.
I'm laughing because I am a personal, I'm not laughing at the question. I'm laughing at the fact that I am a personal answer to that question.
Okay.
I repeated 2 years in high school. Okay? And we think it's a tragedy to pull a kid out for a year, to have them work in a horse stable or whatever it is, oh my gosh, well, they can lose a year. Yeah, kind of. But I lost 2 years, and yet I have 2 master's degrees, and so what? You see what I'm saying? I lost a year because when I was in high school, I was an idiot. I didn't care. It was more about the social thing for me, and But I'm saying it really isn't as tragic as it is. And for every child that we pull out and give them a year and they connect with their passion, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I laughed because like, yeah, I repeated twice.
And you know something
So
else interesting? Oftentimes we push for entrepreneurship. You know, we need more Black businesses, all that kind of rhetoric that we hear. I would say, to go a step further, we need more allowing people to explore their passions. Because I think if more children are allowed to explore their passion, for example, I could give an example from the gaming community, because this is originally a gaming podcast. A lot of kids back in the day, there's this thing called esports, where people play video games to make a living. This never existed before. Before you played video games, somebody might watch you stream it, but you wasn't making any money. You're just doing it for fun. But these kids, they're in their parents' home, they're playing video games, their parents allow them to play video games. And now these kids making money off of playing video games. And they would have never gotten the opportunity if their parents had been like, you know what, stop playing, this is a waste of time. You need to go to school, you need to do XYZ. But you can't become the best at something if you don't immerse yourself in it. And now some of these people are the best in the world at this game. And people will be surprised it's a game. But it's no different from playing soccer. It's no different from playing football for a living. You know, they're playing a game professionally. So I really like what you're saying, and I really like the idea. I mean, sorry, I kind of lost track. I have ADHD a little bit. Going back to what I was trying to say, instead of pushing entrepreneurship per se, maybe we need to push pursuing your passion, and then the entrepreneurship will come from that naturally,
or not,
and it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So new rabbit hole. Let's go down it.
Wait, one second. I have a personal anecdote again.
I warned you.
In my life, personally, growing up, I used to draw a lot all the time. I used to draw really, really well. Then there came a point in my life where I had to choose, do I want to keep drawing or do I want to focus on school? And of course, from my background, school won. But I'll still draw here and there, but no one actually believed that I could draw that well. But I could draw really well if I actually take my time and do it. So there comes a time in children's lives where their passion actually has to butt heads with the normal education that they need to get. And I think that's what Fionn is trying to say, and you're trying to say as well, is that maybe sometimes education can take a little back burner to allow more growth in this one area of life that they're interested in, like they're actually interested in doing. Because no one really wants to go to school every day, but you want to draw every day, you want to play football every day. Like that's something that you should be able to push for and have them be happy and have their mental health be actually happier.
Yeah, totally. And so yeah, so we in the same rabbit hole, because and the issue I was going to raise is the role of not just parents. So let's say parents, teachers, guidance counselors, other relatives in shaping or misshaping a child's destiny. Parents give birth to a child and they say, this boy gonna be a doctor, right? He gonna be a doctor, and we can put everything into this child being a doctor. And the poor child, I mean, you know, daddy and mommy say, do the sciences in high school and and they got me into medical school, and I am hating it. I just want to play the cello. When I'm playing the cello, I am at one with the universe. And I'm saying this, but I say I know. I read of a documented case like this, and the kid actually was engineering, not medicine, and the kid said halfway through, "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, but I want to be a musician," and they cut the child off. They cut the child off financially. And oftentimes the point is that oftentimes parents, teachers, guidance counselors dictate for children where they need to be. You know, oh, Kurt is good with numbers. He needs to become an accountant. And the guidance counselor pushing you to colleges that, are specialized in accounting and whatever, and they're paid to misguide you. And so all of these things are forces that come to bear on us at different points in time, in terms of shaping, like I said, or misshaping our connection with our passions.
I feel like it's a vicious cycle of, like a negative cycle where the parent didn't get to do what they wanted to do. So now they're living vicariously through their child. And also there's like the
Absolutely.
cultural outlook of, I want my child to appear to be successful so that I myself look successful.
Yes,
So that's, and
absolutely.
then you push them towards being a doctor, a lawyer, everything that's, I guess, like a standard job, when the child just wants to live their own life and live their own, self.
How sad is that? And don't forget the neighbors, 2 children, they got a doctor and a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I meet them over the wall and they tell me that Johnny and Susie, Johnny just finished law school and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and all I got to tell them back is that Kurt playing the cello. Yeah, man, that can't work. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a whole rethinking that we need to do, but and I think more so now than ever, because the world is changing so fast and the needs are different, and we need to do the best that we can to hold those doors open. We handing the next generation a crap world, and we're still holding their noses to the grindstone in terms of reading, writing, and arithmetic. They don't need those. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They need to be creative, and they need to be able. And listen, the world is changing so fast. Watch it. That when Johnny goes off to college, when Johnny went off to college, they say this fall to be an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
By the time Johnny graduates, there can be vocations and jobs and careers that don't even exist right now. That's how fast the world is changing with the technology and all of that. So how are we gonna force them down some tube and not allow them to be flexible in their exploration of what their true passion is, if they're going to be productive members in their society and in their workforce?
So I have a, sorry, go ahead.
Something I want to just, I don't know if I disagree or not, but you said they don't read and write in arithmetic.
Yes.
I think they need both.
Yes, absolutely. You need those foundational things. But I was saying, that's why I said y'all know what I mean, because I wasn't saying necessarily they don't need those foundational disciplines, but they don't need some of the other peripherals that, when I say peripherals again, that, that really do not help to take them towards their passion. Yes, we all need to be literate. We need to know how to be financially literate, how to manage numbers, etc. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I had to make sure to clarify, because I do agree that there's a lot of people I know who are like, why did I learn geometry? I don't use that at all in my life. I mean, I know all kinds of advanced math myself, and oftentimes they say advanced math is to help you with logic. And it's true. I am very logical. When I program, I have to use a lot of logic. So it helped me a lot. But in terms of, if I wasn't in my career, it would be useless things that I have at my disposal here. I don't use it at all. And just like you said, when you don't use something, it atrophies. You know, I haven't spoken Spanish in forever. I don't remember anything about Spanish now.
Damn.
And I went through school learning Spanish. Why? I wasted all that time learning Spanish when I could have been pursuing a passion.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
So I have some points here from the chat that are things I was thinking about myself. So they're asking Nick, what are your thoughts on the pay rate for different passions? So how do you
So
get
what, sorry?
the pay rates? Because something
Pay
that you may
rates
be
for different
passionate
passions.
about may not pay you as well, something that you may
Mm-hmm.
not be passionate about, like something that's more standard. And someone else says
Mm-hmm.
that the misconception of success is that you need financial success to bring happiness eventually. So how do you think that affects someone's
Yes.
drive towards their passion, like getting paid?
Right. Right. Good question. So you can be successful in life and never again connect with your passion. So again, because of the way we have been conditioned, we want to give everything a dollar value. All right. And so we're saying passion, success, how much money? And I am saying that yes, sometimes or often, we hope, people will discover their passion and people will discover ways in which to monetize their passion to make it pay for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a wonderful thing. And again, this is part of my own personal evolution because I always thought passion and vocation must go together, passion and job. And somebody told me, I have a brother who is a postal worker, but his passion is sailing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every hour that he's not working in the post office, he's out sailing on weekends and he lives for the weekends and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's an interesting one. So the first thing I want to dispel, even in my own evolution of thinking, is that passion and pay don't always necessarily go together. It's a wonderful thing when it does. Also, success does not mean passion. Again, there are many people go in the graveyard who have been very successful in life, whatever that success means. But I'm suggesting that maybe we need to redefine success. That maybe success is not about the fact that you ended up with 2 cars and a 4-bedroom house. But success is that you lived into what you were created to do. And not that you become a pauper in the process, but that is part of it. So I'm just saying again, it's not as simple an answer as what is the price? What is the price tag you put on? Okay, but again, here's where the creativity comes in. I'm a postal worker. I like to sail on weekends. Sailing is my passion. What are all the ways, because we could put a but in there. I'm a postal worker, but I like to sail. So, there's a kind of a disconnect there. I would say, what are all the ways, if that person was my client, that we might explore how you might be able to monetize your passion for sailing?
Chartering.
How could you do your passion and make money out of it? And again, that's a different story for each individual. Again, like Rihanna. Rihanna was discovered in Barbados because she's a pretty girl. Let's not pretend that doesn't exist. But she also has a beautiful voice. And so she was introduced to the recording industry. And again, from where I stand, I think Rihanna is a very successful individual who has connected with her passion. Those two things seem to be working for her, but she's not. When was the last time she did a recording? Her passion is fashion. And so she has this Fenty, I forget what it's called, where she's working with Amazon. And if you haven't seen it, you should check it out because it's amazing and it's innovative. She has found a way to monetize her passion. So you can click on this Fenty, I forget what it's called, Fenty something. If you do Fenty, it'll come up, I think. Google it. And she's actually, you can watch streaming fashion shows and you see a negligee or swimsuit or evening gown or whatever, and you click on it and that you go right to Amazon I think it's Amazon. Yeah, Amazon.
Mm.
And they ask you what size, what color, and you can buy it right away.
Wow. Xfinity.
And all the time and she's got music going on, musical performers going on, and in a lot of cases they're not the A-scaler performers, but up and coming performers. So she's creating opportunity for these young up and coming performers to be heard.
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from? That's creativity. That is creativity. And that's living your passion. The more you're into your passion, the more the ideas are gonna come. And so I don't know if that answers the question. If I missed part of it, tell me. Because like I said,
I wanted to expound on that. And you, as a resident professional, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you can pursue both a practical career and your passion at the same time, even if they diverge in some way. Of course, in life, we hope that they converge and you can do both. You can make money off your passion. But I think what you're also saying is if you pursue your passion, a part of monetizing it is the creativity. You could think of creative ways to monetize your passion. It might not make as much as a standard job like a doctor or something, but you have to also think about balance in life. You know, you're making enough to live, but you're also having good mental health, social health, because you're pursuing your passion. You're not just a cog in the wheel helping somebody else make money. I mean, you might still be helping somebody else make money while pursuing your passion, to be fair, but at least you're enjoying it. Your what's the word I'm looking for? Your quality of life.
Self-fulfilling.
The quality of life is improved because of this. And I think you have to decide, is money more important than quality of life? I personally don't think so, but it's up to the individual to decide.
Yeah, and that's part of the, I don't want to say lie, but if I wasn't public, I would probably say lie. But that's kind of the what's the term I'm looking for? The false message that society sells us. Yeah. And I've had clients that have said to me, I knew what my passion was. This is the same lady with the horses and the kids. She said, but I was married, I had 2 sons, and I had to work, and I had to, make sure that we had medical insurance and all of that. So now she's an older lady, retired. She said, but now that I'm retired, I can concentrate on my passion. Well, fine. And again, it's a different story for everybody. Your story is not going to be my story. So good for you. But what if you had a heart attack in your final retirement year and died? God forbid. And I'm saying, if I had met the younger you, I would have said, again, how might you? Let's think about some creative ways that you can supplement your income, do horses, whatever that means. I don't have the answers, but and so you're living your passion, you're feeding your family, and you're being, as you just said, more self-fulfilled, more self-actuated is the term in your life.
This reminds me of a
So
conversation
there's
that I had.
ways.
A conversation I had with Fionn a couple weeks ago about being poor. So we like to think about being poor as not having any money. But then we started back and forth talking, and we realized that poverty doesn't have to do with money all the time. You can be poor in quality of life. You can be poor in not being able to do all the things that you want to do. And that's what this conversation made me think about right now, is that creativity could be a currency for your quality of life so you don't feel as poor. It doesn't always have to be money. But money is usually the biggest deciding factor of the things that you can do anyways. And I think we have to find a way to be able to break from that and realize that you can make less money and do away with some of the frivolous things to make way for more creative things.
Yep. I only have one house in my TV, but when I wake in the morning, I am so excited about the day ahead of me because I'm living my passion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Instead of, I have 4 TVs and 2 cars. I can't stand my supervisor. Anytime I wake up in the morning, I just want to curl up and go back to bed. And I can feel the acid starting to flow into my stomach as I drive towards work.
Yeah. I mean, and we all know of stories of people self-deleting because they're depressed, and you think, oh, they're living the dream. They're making so much money. How are they depressed? They're probably not pursuing their passion.
That's true.
Exactly. And they're putting up with a lot of crap every day. And there's no again, counterbalance. There's no sailing on weekend, even if it's that's all it is. You know, to at least give you that release and that recharge for the week ahead. Really like being able to help people to get in touch with their passions, but I think that should also be part of the educational process.
Yeah.
So parents should be doing it. Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead. No, that's fine. No.
Okay. I have a question for Kurt. When do you feel the most creative?
So the easy answer here is first thing in the morning or after work, sitting on the toilet. Because that's the times I have to myself to actually think and talk. So if someone texts me in the middle of the day about an idea, I can't really answer them fully. But if you're the first person to text me about an idea first thing in the morning, I'll have paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs because I'm fresh and I'm ready to go. The other answer I'd have to give is I'm very creative when I'm in a pinch. So back when Irma hit, we lost a lot of, infrastructure and ways to do things. So we had to develop on the spot new ways to teach the course of Science 100. So that was ways for me to be creative as well, because now there's no time to actually come up with a plan. You need to have something ready tomorrow or next week. And that fueled my creativity. So I guess working under pressure makes me creative as well. Because I wrote a lot of research papers and lab reports at 1 in the morning in the library just because it was my time to just push it out and just do it.
Good point and good question. And let me say again, as a facilitator, it's a question that we often ask our participants: when are you most creative? And here's an interesting observation. Very few of them will say, I am most creative when I'm sitting at my desk doing my work. Right?
Right.
But you're being paid a lot of times to be creative and productive in that mode. But that's not where most people find their creative juices flowing. So again, we talk about schools, but we also need to look at creativity in the workplace. And we look at some of the models like Apple, right? And Facebook that actually reward creativity and create environments that foster creativity. And how are they doing on the market? Pretty darn good, except for Facebook recently, but let's not go down that rabbit hole.
We already did that. What about you, Nick? When are you the most creative?
When am I the most creative? In the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. And again, it's the same thing. So I have this really weird sleep pattern. I'm usually in bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock. I think, Kurt, you may know that.
Yep.
And then I'm back up by midnight, 1 o'clock. And I am ready to move mountains. I'm ready to move mountains. And that space is mine. I don't have any distractions. Few people. I had one friend in Singapore, so it's 12 p.m. Two friends in Singapore, 12 p.m. there in the day. So sometimes I had to contact with them, but he just moved to Boston, so that's good. But I'm free to think uninterrupted and to allow my creative juices to flow at that time of the night. So I love the middle of the night just for that.
I already know I next, so you don't even have to ask.
Yeah, so sorry. What are you waiting on?
I think mine comes in bursts. Oftentimes it comes while I'm asleep. sometimes I would go to bed thinking about, I need to solve this problem. And then I would be sleeping and I would be somewhere between halfway awake, halfway asleep, and the idea is there. And as soon as I recognize, I get up, I try to write it down because I know, dreams, they just fade as the day goes on. Or often, and I'm the kind of person, I usually remember my dreams, at least when I first wake up. But then it just vanished throughout the day. So I write it down quickly. I have an actual example. So example here was, I like to write poetry. I know we're not talking about this type of creativity, but it was implemented here. So
it's not.
My grandma was making however old she made, and I had to write a poem for her birthday. But up until the night before, I hadn't thought of what poem to write for her. I was like, I do not know what to say. I have no idea. I went to sleep. I started dreaming about a poem. I woke up, I wrote the first 4 words, the first 4 lines from the poem that I was dreaming about. And then I just expounded on those based on like the vibe I was feeling from the dream. And I wrote a really good poem off of that. And this is not the first time something like this has happened. It's happened even for solutions for work, where I go to sleep, like I can't figure out how to fix this damn program, because I program, right? And I love programming. And I can't figure it out. Go to sleep. Now I dream about programming, and next thing you know, I figure it out in my dream. I wake up the next day, I fix it. Oh, it works. So
yeah,
I think for me, I guess dreaming, and also sporadically, sometimes even just throughout the day, I might just be sitting down watching something, and something inspires me. Like maybe I saw artists, like just yesterday actually, I was listening to Willow Smith. She was singing a song, and I was like, hey, I noticed something in her song. She's doing 9-syllable stanzas. 9-syllable lines. Those last 4 lines in a row were all 9 syllables. So that gives me an idea for a poem. I want to write a poem where I do something with 9 syllables. So stuff like that. I get inspiration from things I see, and I get inspiration from my dreams often. And then I just try and do it immediately, because I kind of have ADHD a little bit. So I always try to do things before I forget.
Yeah. So let me respond to that, because this is something that I've learned in my work, which I find fascinating. So again, I am not a neurosurgeon, I'm not a neurologist, so I'm going to explain this in terms that we can all understand, right? You see your dreams and your creativity in your dreams. Actually, what's happening while we are awake and conscious, we have a part of our brain that is our gatekeeper. And he's a real gruff old man. He's the but man. He's a man that when you start an idea, he will say, but then that's not gonna work, right? And this is part of the brain, like I said, I don't know all the different names, but this is documented. I read it. Saw it on Oprah. But when we go to sleep, that part of the brain goes to sleep because it's working all day, guarding and keeping and watching and making sure. And it has a function because it protects us from doing stupid things and endangering the life of the body. So he plays a very important role. But when you're sleeping in bed, okay, it's kind of a safe, so he can take a break. That is when the other components, left brain, right brain, that he is regulating, can come out and play and make those connections and create stuff. And they apparently manifest themselves, because the brain is still active, manifest themselves in dreams. So sometimes, you dream something, we dream something that don't make no sense. Yeah. You're living in St. Croix, but you're dreaming that you're back in Dominica or whatever, and the house that is in St. Croix is actually in Dominica. And normally that part of the brain that's sleeping would say, well, that makes no sense. That house can't be there. But when those parts are playing, they make connections that don't make sense. And oftentimes, those connections actually come together into super creative ideas. And that's what's happening in your brain.
Nice.
And by the time that old gruff gatekeeper wakes up, the idea has already been formed.
Nice.
And that again is from a really awesome Time magazine did a special on creativity. If you again Google Time magazine plus creativity, there's some awesome articles, and that's basically a quick summary of one of the articles, explaining the neurology in simple terms. But it's really an interesting article.
This has been a great show. We're coming down to closing, and Nick, you said you had a creative exercise for us that you wanted to share.
Oh my goodness, you still want to do that?
I mean,
we
could close with that.
All right, it's okay. I'm gonna test your creativity, and I encourage others who are online. You'll just have to type your responses in, And so I want you again. We're gonna kick that gatekeeper's butt for the moment. I want you to get wild and crazy ideas, right? So I'm gonna give you a wild and crazy situation, and I want to see how many ideas you can come up with. Ready?
Okay.
Here's a scenario. A chicken escapes from the kitchen of KFC. All right? It gets, as I see your brain smiling, your brain telling the gatekeeper, oh, that don't make no sense, that's stupid. Right? Go with me. Right? The chicken gets as far as the curbside and it wants to cross the road, but it just discovered that it forgot its drumsticks in the kitchen. Okay? Can't go back to the kitchen. What are all the ways that the chicken can use, come up with ideas to help that chicken get across the road? Go.
I have to ask questions.
Wild and
Yeah, I
crazy
have to
idea.
ask questions too.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask a question. Go ahead, ask a question.
Does the chicken need a drumstick to cross the road?
Me and no.
Oh,
Next
no.
question.
Does the chicken have feathers still?
This is the point. This is the point. Now you're clarifying, which is a good thing, but I want you to go beyond, break through the clarifying. Just get wild and crazy ideas. Anything you can suggest. Okay, let me give you a push start. Chicken can catch a taxi. Get a taxi. Hail an Uber. Don't evaluate the ideas. That's the thing that we do. Just come up with some wild and crazy ideas.
Well, I would say the chicken
All right,
can
I have my answer already.
jump up and hit the crosswalk button.
Jump up and hit the crosswalk button. Excellent.
Young guy, headbutt
Go.
it. The beak.
Headbutt it.
But I was going to say,
yeah, but you see what? Yeah.
You should find somebody, say, Mr. or Miss, do me a favor. Can you go inside and grab some drumsticks for me? I forget them in there. I can't go back in right now. And then when that person come back out, grab them and run.
Good. Okay, keep going. I want as many ideas as possible, not no one idea. Keep going. We got what, 60 more seconds.
Jump across.
Just this
fly.
Jump across. Keep going. Fly. Keep going. Don't judge the idea. Just come up with an idea.
Bounce off the cars.
Bounce off cars.
That's an interesting one.
I don't want you to evaluate his ideas nor your ideas. I want you to just give ideas. We are ideating. We're just generating ideas.
Okay.
Look extra juicy. Get picking up by a dog and get crossed across the street. Then hit the dog and run away.
Oh yeah, like a.
Keep going.
Oh, sorry, don't even.
Keep going.
That's hard.
See, we do that. You see, that is what we do. God, that ain't gonna work because. Right?
No, I wasn't saying it won't work. I was going to expound on that.
I know. I'm just saying some context. We have to evaluate and judge. And I'm saying right now we're not doing that. Just generate some ideas.
This is hard.
It's hard, yes.
I would say don't cross the street at the point that he reach at. He should go to the stoplight first because it's probably going to be safer there. So go to the stoplight.
Okay. Good. Give the idea. I don't want you to give an explanation. I don't want you to justify. As you go with because, that's a red flag for me because you're justifying your idea.
I learned it.
Okay. Anybody put any ideas?
People are
Kurt?
saying fly, walk on thighs,
Mhm.
roll, catch a ride, use a lifeline, a person,
Excellent.
hop into
That's
an
what I
open
want to hear.
car. Yeah,
That's what I want to hear.
wait for the light.
That's creativity.
Mm,
And so the reason why we do this, okay, we'll stop here, but I'll explain real quick, 3 o'clock. The reason why we do this is we want to give, when you start to ideate, give yourself as many wide ideas as possible,
mhm,
and then you can go back and evaluate them. Because sometimes, again, the special creativity and the innovation comes from the wild and crazy idea.
mm.
But if we kill it in our heads, it will never see the light of day, and nobody's going to say, I wish I had thought of that, because we will be thinking mainstream. And as you two start with, we need clarification, we need questions.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. I like that.
So it's just giving the brain license to
I
get
think
wild and crazy with
I
ideas.
think I do that like when I'm writing poems or when I'm trying to figure out ideas. I go on Google and I look for everything. I write down everything, and then as I go, I take out the ones that don't make sense, and then I find my way down to like one or two, and then I narrow it down from there.
That's the process. That's the process. And we call it diverging and converging. Again, we do it all the time. You go into McDonald's, you read the whole menu, you're diverging.
Yeah.
And then you can select, you want the whatever, the fish fillet or whatever, you converge down. But it gives you the opportunity to consider some crazy ideas that might be crazy enough to work.
Yeah. And this is going to be something that I'm going to take and apply to my children too.
Excellent.
Because honestly, I think everything you said, and I like the idea, I think the idea of putting it in elementary schools is especially important because, yeah, kids come up with the craziest ideas. And
yes. And guess what? And then they go to school and we kill that. You ever watch kids playing? They're making up new rules for the game all the time. Not video games. But when they're just playing outside, they make it, we can do it this way, and I can be the boss, or whatever.
Yeah.
But when we get in the classroom, all of that gets killed.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing to our kids.
Man, this is the, I know I say this at a lot of podcasts, like this was the best one. But man, this is top two, man. This was a really,
Okay.
I learned so much today.
Indeed. And there was so much more we had to talk about, but we
Yes.
just had fun anyways talking about it. So we want to invite you back again on a later date. Bring all your
I would
fans with
be
you.
honored to come back, guys.
Good.
Yes.
So in closing,
yes, absolutely.
this has been Rabbit Hole Roundtable Talks with Mr. Nick Drayton, who we appreciate so much. Myself and Mino, we do this every 2 weeks. We try to have engaging conversations like this one the best that we can. But usually when we have a guest on, it's a lot better to have a third person bounce things off of. So if you're interested in talking or you have something you want to talk about, you can come on as well. If you're a professional in a certain field, we'll be glad to talk to you and, facilitate that as well. We're live here every 2 weeks on YouTube. We break the videos down into shorter segments so they're more digestible, which a lot of people appreciate. We're also available everywhere podcasts can be found. We're about 2 or 3 episodes behind on that, but we're catching up as we go along. Anything you want to add?
I would say like, comment, subscribe if you watch any of our videos, including today's, but also turn on the post notifications so you can see when we upload something new. And as we say, every 2 weeks, we're here 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Sometimes we go longer, sometimes we go shorter, depending on a lot of different factors. Oftentimes we go longer because just like today, the topic is just so interesting. And honestly, we could talk about this for the next 2 hours and I don't think I would get bored talking about it. So, and also we want to say thank you for coming out and watching. We really appreciate the views. We really appreciate people engaging with us. This was our dream, actually, when we first started the podcast, is to have an audience who we can engage with, answer questions, have a conversation with. And I'm actually happy that Nick was able to have you guys come and engage with us. So thank you, Nick, as well.
My pleasure. It was fun.
We really appreciate it. Have fun, everybody. and peace.
Take care, guys. Thanks, friends and family who joined. Appreciate it.
Thank you.